So you've probably heard all of the theories surrounding the birth certificate, but can't find the information or the time to find the information to show yourself what you need to see to actually believe it. And you're probably leaving most of the space in your mind feeling like it's a conspiracy theory, but you're probably open enough to know that there's something to it, right? Well, this is the series for you, and this will paint the picture for you. This first episode out of 4 will show you the basis of the birth certificates, and it'll get into it throughout the whole series, but this will really get in to show you the basis of what you need to understand how this all works. We end the series with the absolute most amazing information, the longest video that will give you the most. But before you get there, you have to see the foundation. Build the foundation for yourself of this information, and then allow the 4th video to absolutely open your mind and blow it. This series is brought to you by the Shield of Souls Assembly. They were created to get you this information for free. That's why they're here. A mission from God. Also, this was created and funded by Green Mountain Greenery. Literally all handmade, all organic products created to save the world in their own right. Help the series, help yourself. Go check them out. You can go to greenmountaingreenery.info or .com. Now sit back, buckle up. This is the quick 30-minute first part of the series, Fraud from Birth.
Well, there was a bankruptcy in 1933, which was the real reason why they created the Great Depression of 29. To get people to beg for social insurance. Now, here in Canada, we call it social insurance. In the United States, they fought revolutionary wars and they fought civil wars, and they understood that security was a better word. It sounded better to the Americans, and so to sell it to the Americans, they called it social security. But they themselves call it social insurance, and that's what it is. Okay, so now having said that, I'll go back to this document, which you can get from the freedompool.org online. And this was a meeting. Okay, this is what House said. Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property. That's the birth certificate. They will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people, and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as a chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living, the sin. They will be our chattel. That means slaves, it means collateral. You're secured as collateral. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever. By operation of the law merchant, under the scheme of secured transactions, Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent, forever to remain economic slaves through taxation, secured by their pledges, the birth certificate. They will be stripped of their rights and given a commercial value designed to make us profit, and they will be none the wiser. For not one man in a million could ever figure out our plans. And if by accident 1 or 2 would figure it out, we have in our arsenal plausible deniability. After all, this is the only logical way to fund government, by floating liens and debt to the registrants in the form of benefits and privileges. This will inevitably reap us huge profits beyond our wildest expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur in this matter. Every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless, and without any hope for their redemption, we will employ the high office of the president of our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America.
So you're firmly of the view that banks create money out of thin air?
Yes, well, I produced the first empirical studies to prove that in the 5,000-year history of banking. Banks are thought of as deposit-taking institutions that lend money. The legal reality is banks don't take deposits and banks don't lend money. So what is a deposit? A deposit is not actually a deposit. It's not a bailment. It's not held in custody. At law, the word deposit is meaningless. The law courts and various judgments have made very clear if you give your money to a bank, even though it's called a deposit, this money is simply a loan to the bank.
That's true, yeah.
So there is no such thing as deposit.
So you think it's probably adequately named then?
So banks borrow from the public. Okay, so that much we've established. What about lending? Surely they're lending money. No, they don't. Banks don't lend money. Banks, again, at law, it's very clear, they're in the business of purchasing securities. That's it. So you say, okay, don't, confuse me with all that legalese. I want a loan. I want a loan. Fine. Here's the loan contract. Here's the offer letter, and you sign. At law, it's very clear. You have issued a security, namely a promissory note, and the bank is going to purchase that. That's what's happening.
The straw man is your name written in block letters. Very simple. It was done at birth. What the government did, or the corporations now, not government, what they did is they took your birth certificate and made a second birth certificate with a trust, a QV trust. They made it in all block letters. And for them to interact with you, they have to interact with you as a fiction, because they're all corporations. Corporations cannot interact with real people. So they made a straw man. They call it a straw man because it has no soul and is spiritually dead. This is happening since the early 1900s. What they've done is really fraud, because they're fraudulently taking your child's birth certificate and make it into a dead entity. The dead entity birth certificate is making billions. So your straw man is considered a dead entity, and the corporation can interact with it. If you have to go to court, it's not going to be in your real name because they don't have it. All they have is the dead entity. A signature is under the UCC, which is the fiction, the straw man. Your autograph is the real person. So if you go up to a movie star and says, "Can I have your autograph?" You never say, "Can I have your signature?" It's always autograph because you have flesh and blood. Signature is what you're signing every time they can go into your account and take money.
And every time you do sign a piece of paper, you can bet that that signature of yours is being monetized, securitized.
It is. By the banks, by everybody wherever you sign, credit cards, everything.
The numbers on the back of a Social Security card in red designate your body. It is the serial number of your stock. And this is why if you're wealthy, you are preferred stock. If you're poor, you are common stock. But you are a stock on the stock market. Your body is bought and sold through the use of your birth certificate. And if you could get your original birth certificate back, you would find that on the back of the birth certificate are all the banks around the world. All over the world, banks have used your birth certificate because you are a stock in a maritime admiralty banking scheme where you make money for banks. So consequently, the corporation and government and people who want to control you, they create a second you, and that second you that they control is all capital letters. Check it out. Anytime you get a bill, get a lawsuit, you get a fine, a ticket, somebody sends you a bill from the Department of Water and Power, check it out on your driver's license, on your Social Security card. on your insurance cards, anything having to do business, your name will always be in all capital letters, because only all capital letters can be dealt with by the government. Anytime you have a name upper and lowercase, that applies to you. I got no control over you. You sign a contract in which your name is in all capital letters, now I can take you to court. Now I can take you.
This is a certified true copy of my live statement of birth. You can get this by applying for it at the Registrar General. They'll give it to you. And it's very interesting because this is where it all began. This is the foundation document. All identification is generated from this document. And so if the foundation document is no good, anything that's made from it is no good. That means driver's licenses, health cards, everything. Now what they did here, this is exactly what he meant when he said, soon every American will be required to register their biological property. Now your parents didn't realize what they were doing when they filled this out, and these didn't exist before 1933. Birth records were recorded in scripture, and these only came into being in 1933 when they hatched this plan. They created a corporate fiction with a name just like yours. In doing this, they registered and monetized the spirit and soul of a living being.
I want to talk to you today about law. You see, law is an acronym, and it stands for land, air, and water. See, I always do two things whenever I'm researching something. Number one is, where did it come from? And two, why is it that way? You got to question everything, right? So for this in particular, it goes all the way back to the British, and when the English had the largest navy, or one of the largest navies, and they basically ran the sea, right? So what they did is they took the English language, or the language of the sea, and they brought it back into commerce. And then they manipulated the courts and the banking's language into what we call admiralty maritime law, or the law of the water, okay? So let's talk through some of the etymology and the why things are that way. All right, so we'll start with the fact that all ships are female. Have you ever wondered why that is? The captain will say, oh, she's a good ship, right? Well, now, stick with me here because this is absolutely freaking wild. Well, it's because a ship is a vessel. A vessel carries product, right? A ship delivers product, right? When a ship parks, it's called a berth. And where does it park? It parks at a dock. All right, still with me? Okay, this is why you're considered a product when you go to court, right? In the eyes of the court, because your mother was a vessel, aka the ship, that carried you, the product, to term. Then she delivered you at your birth to the dock, or the doctor, right? The dock tender. That's why when her water broke, she delivered you to shore through the birth canal. Whoa, okay. This is why when courts refer to you as a person, okay, this is why they group together person, place, and thing, because person is a noun, all right? But you are not a thing. You are a living, breathing soul. You are a verb. You are always breathing and growing and evolving, right? Notice the ing. You're living. You're a being. Okay, this is why when you are registered at birth, okay? Because you're given a birth certificate because a ship has to register its product upon delivery to the dock through a manifest. Okay, so let's look at the money side of things. All right, and why money is water, right? What sits on either side of a river that directs the flow of the water? That's right, a river bank. Well, just like how banks direct the cash flow, right? Or the currency. This is why we talk about having liquidations or liquid assets, right? Money is water. That's why all commerce is handled using maritime admiralty law, the law of the water, okay? But you got to realize that there is a different kind of laws. There's the law of the land and there's the law of the water, all right?
This denotes ownership. And when your parents were tricked into filling this out, they allowed your spirit and your soul to be monetized, and futures were sold on you.
Spirit and soul.
Now, this is my birth certificate. This is actually a share. See this red number? This A, I'm born in Canada, this is a Class A share. Now, this is called a Cashapp number. And all securities require a Cashapp number. And that's what this is. And you are held as collateral to secure the debt, which our government owes to international bankers. So you and me and all these people here are actually collateral. And we don't even own our lives. We are chattel. And we believe we're free. I made an application to the Registrar General, and I got my original social insurance application. Now, before they sent it to me, they put a little piece of paper over this before they photocopied it. Because my friend has his, and they didn't block this out. And when you hold it up, you see Bank of Canada. It is said that the best slaves are the ones who don't know that they're enslaved. And we all have invisible chains on us, and we don't know it.
What truth? That you are a slave here. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
We're talking about big bucks. We're not talking about hundreds of millions or even hundreds of billions now. We're talking about trillions of dollars. The obligation is immeasurable. Nobody can measure it.
This door's wide open now. It's gonna happen, whether you like it or not.
Do you notice that they have the same amount of ink on them? Do you notice that they're made out of the same virtually worthless stuff? It's paper. Did you get it? It's paper. When we create money, we have created an instrument of value that has no value of its own. And it's just as expensive or inexpensive to print the 20 as it is to print the 1. In January of 1913, in December of 1913, he signed the Federal Reserve Act, bringing the Federal Reserve System into place in America, and did what Thomas Jefferson said must never happen. He took the control of the money away from the people by taking it away from the Congress and gave it to a group of private individuals who have to pay taxes on the money they loan the government.
The more I study the law, the more I realize it is very beneficial to us. The only problem is we don't know it, and we don't know our rights. And this allows us to be tricked and trapped by governments and corporations who understand the system well. And what we find is when somebody else understands the system and shows their understanding and knowledge to these groups engaged in lies, typically they back off, only because they realize you know the truth, and it's game over. And this is the greatest rabbit hole I've ever gone down before. It originally started with our social security number. And what is it, really? And I'm going to try to keep this short, just in case this recording doesn't take. But our social security number, again, in short, seems to come down to a bank account that is created at our birth, backed by our birth certificate, a certificate of stock. And once I realized this was a bank account, my very number, my unique social number, I naturally wanted access to this account. And I was watching a lot of different channels, many difficult to follow, and it was very early in this research and understanding. And again, this is just one branch of this very deep rabbit hole. But nonetheless, I continued my research and found that this was a actual bank account. And all that we needed was a routing number. And what was the routing number? Well, that was the routing number to the bank. And who was the bank? Well, the bank was the Federal Reserve. And originally people began punching these into PayPal. And pretty soon PayPal, seeming to be part of this cabal, shut it down pretty quickly, refusing transactions from these accounts. And soon there unfolded a frenzy of people trying all different ways to access these accounts. And I jumped on the wagon and ordered 4 new tires for my truck from Amazon. And I punched in my routing number and my social, and boom, as if I had entered a credit card the logo of my bank popped up on the screen, and my bank in this case being the Federal Reserve itself. Very official, all the numbers were confirmed, and Amazon gave me a guaranteed shipping date. This account sailed through without a hiccup. If it was not a real account, it would not have run through the system. If even an expiration date on a credit card is wrong, it's not running through the system. And within 2 days I had my Amazon account shut down. And this was a great proof to me. Later I tried to open a stock account with the popular online firm E-Trade. Same thing, my very numbers of Social Security and this routing number to this non-Federal Reserve branch. And once again, boom, accepted. $1,000 in the account. Unfortunately, I did not take a screenshot of this. And being very excited and scared, I did nothing and let the money sit in the account, and it sat there for about 10 days. And finally, it was pulled back out. My account was not closed, but I ended up closing it, not having any desire to dabble in a rigged market. Much more excited about this account that we all have, that is said to have several million at a minimum. And I used to watch a fascinating channel, but again very hard to follow. Perhaps 10 minutes of valuable information in a 2-hour video, and one would need to watch dozens just to extract the essential needed information. But in a nutshell, in 1933, give or take, when we went off the gold standard, the United States went bankrupt. And now, with a system backed by nothing, the people became the value of this system, and every birth and every certificate creating value. And this channel that I used to watch would just read these old laws, sitting in plain sight, and how amazing this system actually was, the very laws that existed, and how the people being the backing for this system would not be responsible for their debts. The debts would be paid by the Treasury. And the more I researched, the more amazing I found this system to be. But once again, we just didn't understand it. And we were being played because we had no understanding of these laws and how to navigate them. And although I didn't give up on this account, I moved on to other things. The law and the words used in the law. What is called syntaxing. And this was created by a Judge David Windmiller. Fascinating. I encourage you to look into his work on the true and false meaning of words, and how everything in this system is based on contract. And if there is any fraudulency or lack of clarity in a contract, the contract is void. And if both parties don't understand the meaning of the words, the contract is void. And what I found through this branch of the rabbit hole is almost all contracts are void if they use the language of Babel, which is what we use. And again, I continue to research this branch, but here now, getting to this point of this video, is another little branch, one of so very many. And this is just something very simple. And of course, all of these ideas on the law and the truth behind these laws are actually designed to set us free. And so here we're going to look at a little bit of law. But before that, I just want to explain a little bit more backstory. I kept trying to pursue any avenue in which I could financially find some kind of freedom. And once I did, something that I could share. It would be very easy. This has always been my quest in seeking truth. The more I realize we've been lied to, the more determined I am. And upon first entering this rabbit hole with this original channel that I used to watch, he was talking about these old laws from the 1930s, and one such section involved the creation of money and currency, and how even people had the ability to do this. And he showed us how to make currency. Not something that looks like a bill, but something that looks more like a check. And throughout this check, citing all the laws that made this procedure perfectly legal, old laws and old court decisions. And again, to keep this short, what made a check or even a contract or any instrument of that nature valid was a signature. And if you look, all checks have a signature, all loans, and all legal instruments. And it was ultimately our signature that made the money. And in short, when you went into a bank to get a loan, they would simply draft up this instrument, and you would sign it, and ultimately you would create it. Without your signature, this had no value. The bank could not create it without your signature, otherwise they would create it. But it was your signature that was needed to give this value. And ultimately it was you that created this loan, not them. And it's the same with credit cards and mortgages. And when you realize that it's you that's creating the money, and when you realize that all debts are forgivable because it's you that backs the system, and when you understand the laws, you can begin to use these tools and instruments in the same way that the people on the top do. And so here, this little letter verifies the fraudulency going on. And this fraudulency has to do with the credit reporting agencies, being Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And this letter will show you exactly how fraudulent the system is. And this letter was designed to send to the credit reporting agencies to dispute a negative mark on your credit report, which would in turn weaken your credit score. And these are very difficult to get removed, and yet when we look carefully, it's actually very easy once you call them out on their fraudulency. And this is a very, very simple 2-paragraph letter written to this particular credit reporting agency and cuts right through the lies. And here I'll read it real quick. According to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Section 609, and this is where it's all at right here, you are required by federal law to verify, through physical verification of the original signed consumer contract, any and all accounts you post on a credit report. So they are required to have physical verification of the original signed contract. So that's anything. That's a credit card. And so what this is saying is that they have to have the original signed document in their hands. The credit reporting agency, in this case Equifax, must have the original signed contract. And the bottom line is this: they don't have it. They could never possibly have every single contract, the original signed document, in some kind of an archive. It would be absolutely impossible in this day and age, and they know it and they just ignore it. And they are violating federal law and this Fair Credit Reporting Act. Otherwise, anyone paying for your reporting services could fax, mail, or email in a fraudulent account. So that's what they're stating, is that there must be verification. And so a lot of people send letters to these companies and these credit reporting agencies disputing the debt itself. And in this particular case, there's no disputing of the debt. There is simply asking for verification. And here we go. Here's the demands. I demand to see verifiable proof. An original consumer contract with my signature on it. that you have on file for all the accounts listed below. Your failure to positively verify these accounts has hurt my ability to obtain credit. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, unverified accounts must be removed, and if you are unable to provide me a copy of verifiable proof, you must remove the accounts listed below. And here we go. You list your accounts, and they have 30 days to respond to you. And it said that some letters may need to be sent back and forth. They will try to resist and intimidate, and yet this is the absolute law, and you stand your ground, and it may take up to 4 of these letters. But ultimately this is game over, and just one little sliver of this monstrous rabbit hole. And now by identifying their fraudulency, this allows us the power to clean our credit at will, to wipe our slate clean, better than filing bankruptcy, as I've mentioned in past videos. And using your imagination, this is a way to tap into the system and the unlimited funds that are available with just this one understanding of the law and how these reporting agencies are abusing it. And that is our power. And that is all for now. I do thank you for joining me. Please leave your comments below. I do hope to continue to share this research as it unfolds. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
So I really hope you enjoyed part 1. Hopefully it wet your whistle enough to be intrigued enough to see what else we have to say in part 2. Just remember, this was brought to you by the Shield of Souls Assembly in Green Mountain Greenery, and I'm GK with the Disclosure Hub. I'll see you in part 2.